Tuning fast, don't miss a beat. Sierra Wreck, your monthly treat. From mountain peaks to forest trails, adventures here, it never fails.
Hey, welcome back, you Sierra Explorers, man. We're excited to have you back this week here at Sierra Wreck Now Podcast, your place for all the destinations, the people, the events, and the gear that we get to use while we're out exploring the Sierra Nevada. Hope your weekend plans for Labor Day are getting set, but if you don't have plans, you're trying to figure out, what am I going to do this weekend in the mountains? This show might be for you today. I want to just, before we bring our guest on, I want to share a little backstory. I grew up in Oregon and the Cascade Mountain Range with a dad who loved dispersed camping. We would hit the backcountry roads. He was a logger. He knew all the dirt roads in the country. And we would find some of the longest dirt roads to travel out to that road ended. And that's where we camped at all summer long, or backcountry lakes, whatever it was. And people were always going, how did you find that place? Well, I was lucky. I had a dad that knew maps like the back of his hand. But what if you don't? I get this question all the time in the Sierra. Where do you go dispersed camping? Where do you go camping in the Sierra at? Where do you find a place that doesn't need a reservation, right? And we've been trying to share that all summer long with you in our dispersed camping series. I just got back from Pinecrest, where we stayed up behind Dodge Ridge, up on this ridge. It's this beautiful sunset, all by ourselves, just out in the in the wild. I've done Highland Lakes this summer, but I've got a treat for you today. So there are tools for this that make it a lot easier, and we've got the crew from OnX Off-Road here today to talk about their app and how you can use their app to find these beautiful locations and just talk about the awesomeness of going out camping, dispersed camping. So with me, I have Chris. Chris, I didn't ask how you pronounce your last name. I'm going to say Cords. Did I say that right?
Cordis, yeah.
Cordis. Okay, very good. Got Chris with us. He's actually one of the lead people on the OnX Off-Road app. And Chris, thanks for joining us today. We look forward to talking to you.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here, man. Thank you for inviting me.
Very good. I don't even know where you're calling in from today. Are you in the mountains? Are you where's home base for you?
Yeah, I'm actually calling in from our Airstream. We tend to travel around in the summertime. I was based in Phoenix, so we get out and explore. I have spent a fair bit of time in the Sierras, but today I am in the Hood River area in Oregon.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. You're in your Airstream. This is so authentic. This is like my boat guys who fish from the boat and do shows. That's great. So OnX, I'm familiar with the app. I mean, honestly, I'm a paper map guy, and people know, my readers know that I'm a paper map guy. But I have toyed with the digital apps quite a bit recently, just kind of playing with them, trying to figure out what they use for me as a tool. Maybe we can start the show kind of. Tell us about the brand, the map, where it kind of comes from before we kind of dig into how people can use it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'll start by saying, I definitely get the paper map thing. Historically, I am the same way. Before my life at OnX, in my previous life, I worked for a company called Overland Journal, and I worked with HEMA Maps as well. And so in that space, I did a ton, almost all of my planning on paper maps. That was actually part of what led me to OnX, was looking for a better way to plan adventures, to find all the places I wanted to go, and to have better information. So OnX Off-Road specifically is an app that helps guide you to anything that would be motorized recreation out there. For those who don't know about OnX, we have multiple different apps. We have a backcountry product which specializes in hiking, backcountry skiing, mountain biking, more of the human-powered activities. Off-roading, we get into forest roads, overlanding, side-by-side ATVs, dirt bikes, and then our hunt product, which is the founding of our brand, which is national hunting lands all over North America. So our product specifically for off-road is catered towards helping you find the trails that you want in order to access all of the adventures that you can have out there, whether that's going to find an amazing campsite like we're talking about today, or whether that's actually going to a waterfall, a lake, or anything else. We have 500,000 miles of roads and trails for you to go explore, and all kinds of information on different camping, public lands, private lands, and recreation that you can do out there.
That's fantastic. I got to ask you a quick question about that. I was actually on the app here this morning looking around. I noticed that you guys actually have an off-road section, and then it switches over to snowmobiling for winter, which is really big here in the Sierra, obviously. In that world, it specifically, I don't know, in the Forest Service maps, the roads change and close down, and they're always adjusting, right? How does a company like OnX stay on top of that if you're really kind of this nationwide map system. How does the company kind of stay up to date? Because everything looks pretty regulated when I'm on the app looking through it.
Yeah, it's a huge challenge. So we are updating our maps every single week. We have a dedicated team of GIS analysts here and geospatial engineers who are constantly working to keep things updated. The biggest thing that we're doing is working directly with land managers and grabbing whatever their most up-to-date data is from all of their digital resources. Of course, as you probably know, funding and resourcing staffing is problematic for a lot of agencies these days. So the government information from the digital sources isn't always super up to date. So we
Yeah.
also try to be a little bit innovative and find other sources on their websites and other things that we can pull information on, as well as relying on reports from customers to make sure that we constantly update that stuff.
You're probably a little bit like us here at Sierra Magazine. We also get on all the Forest Service email list, and here in the Sierra, like Inyo County is exceptional at sending out notifications if a road closes down, or El Dorado County, same thing. The National Forest will send out, "Hey, will you push this out in the media wise?" So they probably get those emails too, which helps you get a little updates out there quite a bit.
Yeah,
We're walking into Labor Day weekend here, and that's obviously a big end of summer. Let's go camping. The hunters are starting to prep their thing. I actually have the app up on my screen here. I'm going to do a little screen share if you don't mind.
absolutely.
And I'm just going to walk people through it. They've never seen this. This is kind of a really cool way. We just started screen sharing here a little while ago, so give me just a second here because it takes just a couple clicks. But I'm going to share this. You guys should be seeing an online version right now of Lake Tahoe area, and I've got their map set up here. And a lot of times we'll get people from the Bay Area coming over, or if we're coming up from Los Angeles, maybe they're going up 395. And Chris, maybe you can just, I don't know if you can actually see my screen or see your side, but maybe kind of walk them through. I'm looking here at El Dorado County, maybe by, up by Union Reservoir, Loon Lake area. What kind of lines are they looking for here? What are we seeing?
Yeah, so there's a couple different things that you'll see on the map. First and foremost, like there's the different types of land that you would want to access or avoid, right? So
Yep.
you can see those roadless areas, those are the wilderness areas. We try to crosshatch those to make sure that nobody's going off trail into those zones. The lines that you're really looking at, though, are those tan ones. There's greens, there's blues, there's different colors. The tan
Okay.
lines are the ones that are going to be the U.S. Forest Service roads or from other land managers where we know the road name, length. They're generally forest roads. As you start to get into the color-coded ones, those are by difficulty rating. So if you're looking
Oh, okay.
for something that you know has been vetted by one of our trail guides, which we have thousands of them across the nation who are volunteers, they're enthusiasts, they go map data for us.
Uh-huh.
Those color coded ones have been vetted. And so you can look at what the photos are, how difficult they are, and know exactly what you're getting into. So if you're looking
So
for
like
more
this
of a
blue,
challenge,
like there's a blue line here for Wentworth Springs Trail, for example, is up on the screen.
yep. So
And
if
so
you were to
you can
click
kind of
that,
see that. Okay.
it'll bring up some additional information on that, give you a little more information about what you can expect to see, how difficult it'll be, and then you can scroll down and see photos of that area, see if that's where you would like to adventure, get a description so you can understand, is this where I want to spend my time? Because most of us,
That's
right, we have
beautiful.
very limited free time. And so we don't
Right.
want to go out there with guesswork and waste the valuable time we do have. This lets you know exactly where you're headed and ensure that you guys can have a good weekend out.
Oh, I love that. That I didn't even explore that yesterday when I was just playing around with it. I just really kind of liked the idea that was, the yellow line was easy to do, and I could zoom in really close and see the landscapes. Right, I get, this is kind of how I explore on my paper maps. Like, oh, I bet you this little spot right here might be a good spot with a flat spot for camping type thing. Would kind of what I'm looking for. In doing that. So you said you spent a little bit of time in the Sierra. Do you have there's so many different places we could go Sierra wise. Do you have a place where you've done some backcountry camping or dispersed camping in the Sierra?
Oh, absolutely. Quite a few places. Some of the interesting areas, of course, are out. Like the most recent areas we were at were some of the hot springs out near Mammoth, for example.
Oh yeah.
My wife and I, I wouldn't say we're good at fly fishing, but we enjoy the challenge of it. So we did a little bit of fishing out there in the springtime. Got to enjoy the hot springs out there. And that actually is a great area where our dispersed camping layer really was helping us out. There is
Yeah.
so many different regulations in that area. So it's
Yep.
really challenging to know where you can legally camp and be in accordance with the U.S. Forest Service and their regulations.
Yeah, so little self confession here last year. So last year I drove down to do the kind of same thing, and I'm a little bit of lack of a planner. So I just drove down and I found a road right about in this area right here. And I just crossed the highway and drove out here, and I found a whole bunch of dispersed camping spots, and I hoped I was in the right line because there's no signs out there saying once you cross this line you can camp, right? And matter of
Right.
fact, I'm pretty sure I camped about right here actually. But it was kind of one of the things where you think about going, just because there's a road and a campsite doesn't actually mean it's open right now. And it's one of those areas where, as somebody who loves public lands, I'm kind of always battled with, like, do I have the most up to date information? Did I do my research? And in this area in particular, you're right. There's so many rules and regulations that are kind of updating and changing. You kind of got to pay attention to what road you're on, and if that's currently open, so you don't get yourself in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. Even within like forests that allow dispersed camping, there's
Yep.
specific roads and places that they're limited, right? So
Yep.
the I think a lot of people, because of how complicated it is to find this information through various PDFs or even having to read forest regulations if they don't have a motor vehicle use map for that forest that lists the camping information, it can just be really a challenge. And people start to just default to it's forest land. I'm sure it's fine. It's BLM land. I'm sure it's fine. And it can be. I mean, it's a bit of a gamble when you do that.
It is. It is a gamble, and I don't know what the fines are and stuff like that. But I always go back to and kind of lean on this: is that I don't want to be breaking regulations, because when we break the regulations or do something out of it, that's when they close things down, right?
Exactly.
I remember speaking to the Kern River group last year, and they had to close down some of the areas by Kennedy Meadows because people were off roading in places they weren't supposed to, leaving tracks, and so they ended up just closing all the systems down completely. And that's where you kind of get, everybody gets their fervor up about public lands and stuff, but it's like, really, if we just treated it right and kind of followed the rules, then we'd all kind of have a good playground. Anyway, so
Yep.
I'm seeing on the map here that you have fire emblems. Is this updated fire information? Is close is or just recent fire information for us to know?
It is, yeah. So we will post all of the current fires that are active. Eventually, we phase them out, obviously, so that
Yep.
you don't have them all over your map. But like when you have a first start or a small fire, you'll end up with a fire icon. As you look to the left side of your screen, there you can
Yep.
see a little bit further left. There's actually boundaries on. Yeah, a little further to the left. If you zoom in,
Okay.
there's that red outline. Um, and it
Like
looks
by the
like
garden fire here.
Garnet Fire, right?
Yep.
There you can see like you'll actually get the outlines of where the fire is, some of the hotspot zones that are there.
Wow.
So as fires get more significant, you can start to plan around that. We also have a smoke layer that can compound on this. So if you know that you're in a safe zone from the fire that's open, but you're worried about this amount of smoke in the area, you can actually turn that on to see where that smoke is going to try to plan around avoiding that.
That's fantastic. All right, I've been just dragging the mouse around here. Give me a little bit of what do you want to look at next here? There's got to be some pretty cool tools that you love using on your
Yeah.
own. Yeah.
I'd also be happy to share my screen if that's easier and
Yeah.
I can walk you through some of
Absolutely.
these things.
Yeah, let's do that. Let me stop sharing here. I've never had a guest share the screen, but I know it's possible. So you should have a share button at the bottom. Oh, you've even figured it out, all right? How perfect is that?
I got lucky.
Yeah.
So some of the things that you see, we already mentioned, like you have all the different types of trails you can explore here. If you're ever curious about like what an
Yep.
area of land is, you can tap on that and it's going to bring up what type of land was in that area. But like the big thing that we are really excited about is our dispersed camping layer that we've been bringing online. And
Yep.
so that's actually something that was born out of this exact problem that we were just discussing of like, where do I go, as well as the impact that it was having. So
Yep.
the interesting thing right now is that camping has exploded in popularity post COVID, right?
Yep. Yep.
And to your point, a lot of people were raised with parents or family who knew where to go. They knew the different areas, but through all the people who have been exposed to the outdoors through social media, through advertising, that don't have those family members to guide them, it's really
Yeah.
tough to understand those regulations. And even though many of the land managers like the U.S. Forest Service are really doing their best with the resources they have to give us that information, it's super disparate. It's difficult to find. Like, most people don't know to go down into like several layers of the Forest Service website to open up PDFs. And even if they do know where to find that info, they don't have the ability to reference their location versus where that information actually is.
Correct. Yeah, exactly.
So the most common thing that happens at that point is that people end up turning to third-party apps. So most of the time, this is going to be UGC camping apps. Like, I'm sure all of us know some of those out there where people tag campsites, they post them, they say, "I camped here, it was great." Um,
Mm-hmm.
there are two major challenges with that from like an impact perspective. One, it's driving everybody to the same select group of campsites. So even though the forest has all of this available land that you could recreate on, it's putting all the impact in just a handful of places that people have pinned over time. And that can lead
Mm-hmm.
to closures, as you mentioned earlier, right?
Yep, exactly.
The second part of that then is that these are other people who are tagging these sites. So oftentimes those are not validated. You don't actually know if you can trust that information. And not only does that put you at risk of a ticket, but it also leads to those closures that we're trying to avoid.
Yep.
So the whole impetus behind our work on this camping layer was to make it easy to understand where you can go. And you were on the Tahoe area earlier. I was camping there earlier this year, so I'll use that as just like a
Sure.
quick example. But this is obviously a super popular area for people to visit, especially for people who are visiting from other states. They're not familiar. Tahoe is like, it's a bucket list, right? It's beautiful.
Yep.
So if you're wanting to camp near here, if you go into a lot of those UGC apps, you'll see sites that are pinned all over the southern region. Basically, those people making those assumptions of, this is forest land, I'm sure I can camp here. But the
Yep.
regulations actually try to keep people away from a lot of these places. So if you go into our layers menu, and I apologize here with all the screen sharing, it's loading a little
Yep.
slow, but you can turn on your dispersed camping layer, and all of the roads that you're legally allowed to disperse camp on start highlighted in yellow. So you can see a lot
Yeah.
of these areas that are further north that people would assume you can camp on actually aren't safe. So you can head out
Mm-hmm.
here to this area though, and I actually have personally camped out in this zone, and you can find a beautiful campsite in this area down here, right?
Absolutely.
And this is
Alpine
where
County. Yeah.
it's gorgeous out here. And it's a little
Yep.
further out, but it's really spectacular camping. If you have a bigger vehicle, you can stick to some of these lower areas here that are easier to access. If you have a four-wheel drive, you can make your way all the way up to some of these lakes up here, and spend some time up in the alpine area there. And I'm not going to do all the 3D pans because, as I said, my internet's a little bit slow. But the other thing that so the other thing that you can do then is like try to use all of the other layers and features of our product in order to fill in those gaps. So you're going out for the weekend, you want to find a campsite, but you either, whether you want to be out there with kids or you have to do a little bit of work, you have to check in, you might want to know if you have cell service there, for example. So that's where you can start to come into our other layers and add those pieces on in order to see what areas have service or not, what areas have wildfires, what the temperature is doing. Um, yeah, this is definitely eating the bandwidth.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and close screen sharing down here, just so we can keep the quality going for the guest here a little bit. And there we go.
Hopefully that's a little bit better.
All right, so this happens on an online show sometimes, right? We're doing this on the web here. We're dealing with our bandwidth issue. The good thing is Chris and I, this is kind of cool little background. It's actually recording on two separate devices, so we're going to be able to marry these together and have really good quality for you guys to show. You may not even see the issues here, but Chris, that was a great walkthrough actually, just to see the app. The OnX app system has a free version, but it is a membership base. Can you walk through, is it you have to buy each of the individual apps, or is there one app that does the off-road, backcountry, whole 9 yards, or how's that all work?
Yeah, that's a great question, and one that we definitely get a lot. So all of our products you can do a free week trial on. So if you just want to test it out, you want to use all the features, see if you like it, that's totally doable. Then you get into our different membership tiers. We have a premium membership, which is $30 a year. That gives you full access to all of the public lands data, all of our trail data, all of our layers, except for our recent imagery for satellite. So we have a satellite layer that actually updates every week. So if you wanted to see exactly what was happening in the last week or two in an area, you can do that. And then you can pay. So that, as well as our private landowner information, comes into our elite tier, which is $99 a year. All
Okay,
of our
perfect.
products are separate packages. So you buy backcountry or off-road or hunt. And the
Yep.
reason that we do that is because each one of them is very much designed for that specific use. So
Gotcha.
you'll see like some of the other apps out there, they have everything all packed into one, and it makes it super complicated for the person who's really just looking to get out, do their activity, and not get spend all their time like poking around in an application trying to figure it out.
Yep.
Our goal is to just make it all one stop shop, get in, get what you need, and get on to what you want to do.
I love it. Now, I was speaking when I was getting setting this up with you guys. I told them that I had some experience with the backcountry version that had you. There was a guy who had built a guide for you that I spoke to and wrote an article for me last year. So, do you guys have the same notion on the off road of these off road guides, kind of like the backcountry skiers build, their ski guides? Do you guys have the same notion with some of your users?
Yeah, so all of our guided content comes from one of two places. It either comes from guidebooks that we've partnered with or purchased in the past, or the majority of it comes from our trail guides, who are enthusiasts that are out there that we have recruitment. They apply to our program, we interview them, we make them go through a tread lightly course, and then we give them trainings on how to record trails so that they can give
Yep.
accurate information to our customers. So we don't do any UGC. We don't do anything where someone can just come in and post a trail to the map. Everything's through our internal teams or our guides who are trained to go out and record data.
Okay, that's perfect. That's good to know. So you guys really do quite a vetting process. This isn't just. I mean, sometimes user generated content is really cool, and people really kind of like that in our society nowadays. But it
Mm-hmm.
really is hard to trust sometimes, right? Because you don't know what they did to get there, or what kind of whether or not they're supposed to be there. That's another good question, right? My favorite one is people do that fly drones in the wilderness, which are completely illegal. It's like I can't like this video. It looks gorgeous, but I can't like it because you're not supposed to have a drone in the wilderness. And we can have that argument
Absolutely.
another day, right? So that's really good. So you guys do the vetting process, really get the guides that know what they're doing on that. That's pretty cool. So you're in an Airstream right now. When you guys talk about motorized vehicles, so you're talking about guys that want to go out in their ATVs. Here, like in the Carson Valley, we have all this BLM land behind us for ATVs. You guys motorcycling, travel trailers and stuff. Was there anything on the app that helps identify if a spot is big enough for a trailer, for example? But how do you identify like if that's a single camp spot versus this is a great spot for 5 RVs and a group type thing?
Yeah, that's something we're working through right now about how do we accommodate that.
Okay.
The background of our dispersed camping layer was that we wouldn't tag individual sites specifically so we could try to disperse impact. But we
Okay.
do recognize that there is this need to understand what sites are out there and what their attributes are. Like, how big are they? Can I fit my vehicle here? The majority of the time, like what, at least how I plan today, having a
Hmm.
travel trailer as well as like a four-wheel drive that I use for different purposes, right?
Yeah.
Is I'm looking at road widths. So all of
Yep.
our roads, you have full width roads or high clearance, like you have the different conditions that apply to those. And then you also have some of the ones that are guided, of course, where you can see exactly what's down that road. So using that, I can know at least where I'm comfortable to drive and then be
Yep.
able to go find the campsite that best fits me.
Yeah, that's what I was noticing yesterday when I was in Apple on my phone. I was just zoomed in. I was able to zoom in quite deep in your layer to see the wide spots in the road, to see the spots where the trees are cleared out. Couldn't necessarily tell if there's a campsite there, but I could definitely highlight that spot, in the map and know kind of, hey, this is a good spot for me to look if I'm driving down that road. Once you identify an area, that's kind of how I disperse camp anyways, is I'll get to an area and then that's the road I'm gonna pick, and I'll just drive up and down and find 2 or 3 spots, come back to the one I want for the night.
Yeah, exactly.
So
There are areas, like there's zones in the Sierras for sure that you can see on satellite imagery through clearings and other things that that's going to be a good site.
yeah,
But there are areas that are forested enough that it's difficult. I
absolutely.
can say I spent the last month or so in Washington, and it has been a real challenge here to figure out where you can camp from satellite imagery. It's just a flat layer of green
It's just a
everywhere.
rainforest up there, right? The canopy's got to be deep, definitely. So, yeah, I was thinking about that on Highland Lakes Road. That was the first spot we took our guest on dispersed camping this summer. That was our first trip out. And that Highland Lake Roads is a great dirt road system that it starts with a big campground, the paid campground, and then they've got all these spots that hunters have used for generations. If you've been around long enough, you know that the first ones are kind of primitive, and you get further back, you get the group campsites. I've been there with, they got professional fire rings developed by rocks and years of development, and personal back end for the RVs and stuff. Those are kind of hard to do. You kind of got to discover them, don't you?
Yep,
But
absolutely.
that's very cool. Any other tips for you? We wouldn't believe we're already at 26 minutes here, but any other tips real quick for our listeners for getting the app, maybe a use that we haven't talked about today? You go and, hey, you think about this is how to use that app.
I would just say, like, there's so much out there that you can go explore. And one of the things that I really like about our product is that no matter what your comfort level is with getting outside, no matter what, like, if you're the seasoned expert who's off-roaded a bunch, or if you don't consider yourself an off-roader at all, the great thing about our product is that it can give you levels of information to enable any adventure and help you build into the adventures that you want to have.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to just start with, I'm going to follow the easy guided trail and go experience something, and eventually you're getting into going to where we have no guided information at all, you're getting out into the backcountry, we can give you the tools to do both and help train you to get to that point. So it's
That's
really
great.
something that it's for everyone. And even my wife, who absolutely does not consider herself an off-roader, is usually checking to see if she can bring her two-wheel drive van
Yeah.
to a lot of the destinations that she wants to reach.
I love that. The one thing that caught my eye yesterday, and I'll share this with the readers, is that I do a lot of this, right? I'll just go down dirt roads, and that's how I find myself a lot of times. I'm one of those explorers. But as I'm trying to learn to share with you as a listener, how to do these tips, the thing that caught me yesterday is that, like, I looked at Bucks Lake Wilderness area up by Quincy. It's an area that I kind of know, but I haven't been on a lot of roads. Well, if you dig down in those trails, you can see all the roads, which is great. But then you start to dig in and look at the layer of the map, you can start to see the elevation. And you can start to see how steep the road is, which is a problem in Plumas County because you get on the wrong road and also you're going to be climbing a mountain that you really need a Jeep on, and you came with your Subaru. It's a different animal a little bit. So the app really does a good job if you dig down the layers to see what you're looking at here. And so if you go up on Sonora Pass, for example, you might be driving right along a cliff. You need to see that 3D relief, and maps like this really can help you, where a paper map sometimes can be a little bit challenging to read. Sometimes go, is that a draw or is that a is that a
Yep.
hill? So trying to figure that on the way. So this really does work pretty awesome. So Chris, I always like to be cognizant of your time and our listeners' time. We try to keep our show around 30 minutes, so we're about 20 minutes. I need to run a real quick promo for our friends at Carson Valley real quick. I have 3 questions. I'm going to come back to you about your personal outdoor experiences. Okay.
All right.
Perfect. As always, guys, but we can't do anything without our friends in Carson Valley. So looks like this hit the button here. I feel like that was a perfect segue promo because our open spaces in BLM land, we have all kinds of dirt trails for mountain bikes and RVs and camping, and just unlimited out my back door, which is great. Open road, wild horses out there, which you aren't going to see on this map, but you could use a map like this to find yourself a route through there yesterday. Chris, this has been awesome. I'm gonna have you guys back on in the winter for the winter backcountry guys too. I think for to talk about snowmobiling and stuff like that. So, but I have 3 questions I ask all my guests. This is a little bit more personal on your Ken boy, because the first question is: your bag is packed behind you, even in your RV there, and you get to go anywhere in the Sierra you want to this weekend. Where are you going to go and why?
Ooh, that is a really good question. I'd probably say, I know this is like repetitive because I was just saying I was there, but like the South Lake Tahoe area, like some of the mountain biking in that zone is just absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
I would be heading back there. In fact, I am going back shortly to see one of our favorite bands from Missoula called Top House. we're trekking our way down there just to see them. So
Nice.
yeah, we're excited.
Very cool. That sounds good. I'm not a mountain biker myself, but I've been on plenty of trails that the mountain bikers run, so I know you have some great spots up there. Very good. All right. So after a good day on the trail, no matter where you're at in the world, I'm a food guy. I like cheeseburgers and milkshakes. That's why I'm not a small guy hiking all the miles I do. But what is your go-to after adventure meal?
Oh man, I'm a sucker for tacos. I love tacos.
That's a very popular choice with our outdoor community. Tacos are, you can't go wrong with a good taco. There's no way.
Yeah.
Just quick shout out. Do you have a favorite taco place that you just want to give a little love to right now?
Ooh, honestly, my favorite taco place is down in Baja, so I'm gonna keep that one a secret.
All right, very good. It's in Baja, though, guys. A little secret there. All right, and finally, we're all gearheads in some way. You're going out for a day in the woods, a day in the mountains. What is your go-to piece of gear you never leave home without?
I mean, feels a little weird to say, but I do use an InReach all the time. I've never had to actually use it, at least for an evac, but when I've needed it for breakdowns or just checking like exactly in with my family where I'm at, letting them know that I'm safe, it's always a thing that I have with me.
I like that. That's the piece of gear that I have not invested in yet, and I really should, because I tend to do a lot of off-trail hiking, and people are always going, what? And I go, years of experience, I guess I trust myself too much, but you never know when you're going to be in trouble. So that's a good call out there. So awesome. Hey, Chris, we want to say thanks for joining us and highlighting this to our listeners today. Great app. Look forward to using it myself and exploring a little further. So thanks for joining us today, even in, Hood River, which is, I feel like that's kind of my home base a little bit back in the day. So hope you're enjoying yourself there, and hope your trip down the Sierra goes well. So, but thanks for coming along.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. It's been an awesome time.
Absolutely. And if you're listening this weekend, you're heading out Labor Day weekend, you're looking for a place to go camping, place to ride your bike, grab this app, man. 7-day free trial right now. You can hop online, get a free 7-day trial. Test it out for yourself for the weekend and decide whether or not the subscription's for you afterwards. The right tools can make your adventures so much smoother. So take an opportunity to take a look at this. We hope you enjoyed the show today. Join us again next week. We've got a bunch of guests coming up. We got Candy Dance coming up. We got all these festivals coming up in September. The Tahoe Games are coming up. We just had them on. And I just heard word today that the Carson City to Canada Quest, Julianne Mahoney just finished her hike. She's the first person ever to do it. So she'll be in town. We'll be bringing that to you this month as well. Wherever you're at, have a safe, awesome weekend in Labor Day in the Sierra. Go out and play, explore, and we'll see you again next week.